don't know where you are, but it's officially fall here, and yet we're going to be on the beach for a while. In this video, I'm recapping episodes 2 and 3, what lessons we can learn in love and what not to do and to do in dating and in your relationships. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Welcome to Reality TV Therapy with me, Dr. Diane. Welcome back. With 2 episodes this week, there's certainly a lot of content to go over. And I don't know about you, but night 2 was a rough one. Night 3, a little bit better, more back to the format. But I was going through the drudge here and thinking, okay, what can I pull from this? Because you know I'm here for the right reasons. I want to help you every week go through and look at the lessons we can learn. I don't want to go through all these characters, but talk about what we can learn from your favorite dating show. Let's start out with what not to do. 1, not to be stressed out so much because it's early days. It's day 2. But on the beach, 2 days can feel like 2 weeks. My 2 examples are Genevieve and Romeo. Both of them are in an emotional spiral for different reasons. And in a recent video that I just did on Instagram, make sure you follow me there, I'm talking about how people self-sabotage their relationships. And this one is very applicable, especially for Genevieve. Because I feel like Genevieve, and I really like her, I feel like she's getting a bad edit. But she's self-sabotaging because, for a very particular reason, she doesn't share her negative feelings with the people who need to know her negative feelings. She shares it with us, the viewers, and we can see her spiraling. So let's review. Justin, who she's really into, gets chosen by Victoria F. to go on a date. And this is the point of the show, right? To go on dates and to say yes to new people coming down the beach. So then Justin pulls Genevieve and says, hey, let's talk about this. I know I'm going on this date. And we see crying. Genevieve is crying in the previous scene. She's closed herself in the bathroom. And he says, let's talk about this. And Genevieve says, oh, I'm fine. Go ahead, go on the date. But that is a self-sabotage move because you're not able to talk about difficult things. And then we see her spiraling and she says to the camera, well, where would I get if I said that I was bummed? And that's the thing. You would get someplace. She has a lot of feelings, but she's not allowing those to be expressed. So now, if you are somebody like a Genevieve, or if Genevieve was watching this, what kind of advice would I give you? Well, in relationships, it feels bad to you to disclose negative feelings. But I want to encourage you to be bad sooner. So if she's also focusing on Justin and not herself. She says things like, I don't think I'm what you want. Well, wait a minute. You don't know what Justin might want, Genevieve. Focus on yourself. But if she had come to Justin and said something like this, all right, because I like to stop the tape and say, how would a secure functioning person handle this? Okay, how might Genevieve handle this instead? What she might have said is, Justin, I know it's only date 2, and yet I have really strong feelings for you. I knew about you before. I really just liked watching you on Katie's season, and I had a good feeling about you, and I'm not gonna lie. Victoria F walks in and I'm just a little bit jealous. But go have fun and do me a favor. Catch me. You pull me when you come back and let's talk about it. So how might that have been? It would feel bad, this idea of be bad sooner. It would feel bad talking about your negative feelings. But at the same time, Justin would then also be holding on to that. Wow, Genevieve really does like me. And even this new person, Victoria, I don't know if she likes me. And how might that have been different? Because instead, what anxious people do, and we see Genevieve doing this, she talks to everybody, right? She pulls Andrew and says, oh my gosh, what about Justin? And we see her spiraling in her anxious thoughts, thinking about that she obviously needs to get Justin's rose or she's going to go home. And so much of this is just the negative death spiral. But to get out of the spiral, it feels bad to talk about feelings, but doing that earlier also allows the other person to know how you feel. So that would have been my advice to Genevieve. Now, number 2, what not to do. There was the date with Shanae and Logan. And here's something, a piece of advice about what not to do. So I'm all for self-disclosure, talk about your previous experiences. That's all good and well. But they're on a first date, right? And Shanae is at the bar with Logan and she's saying, I like you. I'm having a lot of fun. This is great. Logan's saying, great. I'd love for you to be smiling and have a good time. And then she says,
I've been cheated on in every relationship.
Okay. Again, I'm all for disclosure, but the trouble is timing is so important. So now what is Logan supposed to do with this information? Everyone has cheated on you. Well, why and how do you choose players, or is there something in particular about you? But it starts to put a seed of doubt for someone when you start hearing this history with no context. So how might that have been different if, in fact, Shanae and Logan were now in an established relationship, their boyfriend and girlfriend, and then she says, hey, just listen, I want to tell you about my history. This guy cheated on me, maybe for this reason. This is how this affected me. In the past, I hadn't been ready. We hadn't talked about boundaries. But the problem is when you drop something like that too soon, again, without context, it doesn't oftentimes go well. And so that would be my caveat to you, a lesson we can learn about the importance of timing and how you state things. Let me know in the comments what you think. Okay, number 3, what not to do. Don't open somebody's suitcase. Now, this whole story, we find out after the fact, is completely fabricated. Okay, this is not Sally's suitcase. These are not Sally's hair extensions. This is not her vibrator. But I really feel like what not to do, this is to the producers, don't suggest that the viewers aren't smart enough to figure this out. And this was honestly just kind of gross. It was kind of icky. And I've heard now from other women who have actually come out and said, yeah, the whole thing was icky. And they're pitting people against each other. And so the producers are thinking, haha, isn't this funny? We're creating this drama for Salley. But something's going on with Salley. And we can suggest, then they're saying some parts of this are true. I don't think this part about the producers and being in the trunk is true. And sure, Wells maybe could win an Oscar for all the funny wigs that he puts on and all the characters. But I just felt like this was really just something gone too far. And playing it out and telling the women this story about the producers, clearly Salley has done something to piss the producers off. She was ready and she wasn't, and she kind of yanked their chain back and forth. But you got to kind of feel for Salley. She's not here to defend herself. And okay, we all know that relationships are messy. And if she was engaged to someone and then he was cheating and broke up and back and forth, she clearly wasn't ready. But it feels like what made episode 2 just one of the worst episodes because of this storyline that felt negative. So we all know what not to do is go through somebody's personal things. But producers, please do better. Thank you. Okay, number 4, this is for Romeo in particular. What not to do, not to actually try to hook up with too many people, but also to be able to read the room. So the problem with Bachelor in Paradise and The Good and the Bad and other shows like Love Island 2, it's all about exploring possible connections. But the problem is we're sort of testing a relationship before it's even had a foundation. And maybe, just maybe, you can test your relationship with maybe like one other person, maybe 2. But Romeo is testing his relationship too soon. And so then we see him crumbling because he now starts to realize this. And he starts realizing, uh-oh, I've really damaged some relationships here. And that's why he's crying. But he tries to pursue Brittney and she says, no, I'm not going to let you kiss me, which was actually, I thought, actually a funny kind of thing with the producers and really well done to slow that down. But he's trying too hard. And the problem I have is Romeo has the power, right? He has the rose that he can decide to give, but someone has to accept it. And we see him spiraling because of his own ambivalence. And we know that dating is ambivalent. But if he had just focused on one or two people, or really chose to double down and focus on Jill, or if he had a more intellectual connection with Kira, which I can see that happening. I said that last week because Kira is a doctor, so is he. They knew each other from Harvard. Double down on those relationships. But I thought Kira actually handled this really well because she said, Romeo, you are being really erratic. You are being very impulsive. And this is causing me not to trust you. So what can we learn from this lesson from Romeo? Well, you might be part of a friend group and maybe people are interested in one another, but be very careful because other people are watching. And you only have so many chances with people, and it is very hard to recover. So what I would say is, before you start checking it out and who likes you or who doesn't, get very certain about yourself, about who you like and why, instead of testing it first, if that makes sense. Let me know. Okay, number 5, what not to do. Again, what not to do is to have multiple kind of storylines that aren't real. This is back to the producers. I really feel like people do want love stories. We want to see more Serene and Brandon. We want to see real couples, but instead we're seeing lots of the ambivalence about dating, which is what people hate about dating. And so we want to see happy endings. We wanted to actually see Ashley and Jared. I really liked that storyline because we need to have hope. Okay, so that's what not to do. Let's talk about what to do. Have good energy. Be a Sierra or a Kira because they're going all in. I really love this about Sierra's energy. Not only is she looking glowing and beautiful when Michael says, oh, you have beautiful skin, but she's communicative and she's fun and she has high energy and a positive vibe. She calls Michael her zaddy, and you can just feel Sierra's vibe and that she's getting to let us know more of who she is. But she's also sensitive and thoughtful, and she's talking about Michael's son and what he's been through. And those conversations felt really like good examples of important conversations to have in dating. And Kira, I did love that she went all in, that she said, you know, I actually really like Jacob and he's Tarzan and I'm going to play Jane. And she went all in, and she even said on Instagram that was one of her favorite moments where she's dressed like a lettuce wrap. But I love her commitment and I love her energy. And this is something that you can learn in dating. Go all in. Let the person know that you're interested in them. Let them know that they're special, because that is one of the problems in dating, is that people don't feel special. We can learn that. Number 2, what to do. To learn how to have tough conversations. Now, I want to talk about Justin in particular. There's some other stuff about Justin and Kira, about Stagecoach and who was there and who wasn't. I don't want to get into that. But what I want to talk about is actually, I did really appreciate that Justin pulled Genevieve, talked with her about that he's going on a date with Victoria. And then when he came back, and Genevieve was, had high expectations and was very upset with him that he didn't tell her one way or the other, or he wasn't certain. But he did say to her, eye to eye, face to face, that this is a hard conversation. It's very hard to come back and say, I had a good date. And he does talk with her about, I'm still trying to figure this out. And part of trying to figure it out is having these difficult conversations. And then when Genevieve was spiraling and saying, Justin, you're not showing me that you're into me. You sat 2 feet away from me. And Justin just confronts the facts. I like that because he's saying, would it have really made a difference if I sat 2 feet from you versus 1 feet from you? No, nothing I would have done is sort of like good enough. And I actually felt like that was a moment for Genevieve to check herself and say, wow, I really do have high expectations. And when Genevieve said, you're not doing anything to show me, he said, look at the cake. What more could I be doing? And also, you're kind of putting me through something that I don't think other people are being put through too. So I actually want to applaud Justin for good communication skills and kind of bringing it back to facts, because when somebody's spiraling and they have anxiety, they're going on a feeling, not facts. And it's helpful to say, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this, and I like that part of the conversation. So note to self, have those tough conversations. And as Justin said, you may not like the answers, but learn to open your ears and to listen and to communicate even when it's hard. Okay, number 3, what to do? Respect one another. I talked last week that I was impressed with Shanae. She was actually trying to be a good friend to Lacey. But what I really liked is actually Brittney. Brittney, who hasn't gotten a ton of screen time, she looks like a really sweet person. But she dodged that kiss that I said that I really liked how she handled that with Romeo. But she said, you have something going on with Jill, and I think you really need to figure that out. So I respect that Brittney is staying in her own lane, and she is reading the room, right? She's paying attention to what's going on with other people instead of just being so worried about like getting her own rose, and doing anything with Romeo. I just really liked that. It felt very authentic. I thought she had good self-respect for herself. So she's respecting herself and her other friends. Nice job, Brittney. Okay, now number 4, what to do. I really liked how Teddi handled some things. So I even did a post on this that Teddi kind of ghosted everybody and she left. Let's talk a little bit about Teddi. So what happens is Teddi, everyone thought that she was going to be into Andrew because Andrew is clearly into Teddi. And she even says to Ashley, I get the feeling that Andrew's more into me than I'm into him. And this creates a conflict for Teddi. So now she's feeling like something's missing with Andrew. Now Rodney comes on the beach and Teddi says, ooh, I have a little feeling, a little bit like, ooh, now this is what's missing because I have those feelings towards Rodney and I don't have them towards Andrew. So Teddi takes herself out. Now there's so much behind the scenes that we don't know what's going on, and Teddi has some cryptic Instagram posts, but she's not promoting the show at all. So clearly we know something has happened here. And again, producers heavy-handed in this relationship. I don't know if the rumors are true that they literally said that if she doesn't have a relationship with Andrew, she needs to leave. That to me doesn't sound quite right because I would think that the producers would like the drama of that. But I do really respect Teddi. I think my feeling about Teddi is she's just out of her element. She's crying a lot. She's really hard on herself. I should be feeling more towards Andrew. I've seen myself in the past. I've been more emotionally expressive. I've been more physically affectionate with other people. And the fact that I'm not indicates to me something's wrong. So whether it was out of respect that she didn't want to date Rodney in front of Andrew, or she just felt that she was out of her league here, she takes herself home. Now, was it the right thing to do not to say goodbye to other people? Well, her friends like Jill and Sierra, they're going to totally get it, right? She can text them after the fact and she can handle that. But I do respect Teddi. When you know you're out of your element, maybe it's good to take yourself out. And she did feel like she said goodbye to the person she needed to, which was Andrew. And I respect the fact that she did break up with him and say, this isn't working for me. Please don't take it personally. So good job for Teddi. Number 5, what to do in Bachelor in Paradise. You gotta stay positive. I did like, again, Ashley I and Jared coming down saying, look at me, I was a crying mess. Now, Ashley I was crying for different reasons. She was crying for different reasons than like Genevieve's crying. I remember the whole episode. Ashley I was deeply in love with Jared in particular, and she was crying because she felt like it wasn't being reciprocated. Now, Jill is crying for different reasons. She's saying that she's a single person. She's the most single person there. And Genevieve is crying for different reasons that don't feel totally like she's in love with Justin. It feels like something else. But the whole point is to stay positive because you don't know how things are going to change. Things change quickly. A person can walk down those stairs and everything can be different. But you have to stay positive. And it's the same thing in dating. Okay, you swipe right on someone, but they don't feel the same towards you. You have to recognize that your person can be just one person away because it only takes one. All right, so I'm going to land this plane, and what can we learn? What reality check do we have this week on The Bachelor? The reality check is that you don't want to get connected too quickly. But it's still okay to share, I have good feelings about you, but I'm going to take a wait and see approach and let's figure this out together. Okay? Because that's what relationships really are. Everybody has ambiguity. And Genevieve, nobody is going to be that certain, especially from the beginning. But we have to tolerate ambiguity on our way to something more certain. And remember, you're not going to have ambiguity forever. That at some point you will have certainty, and this too will pass. But when you're in the midst of that anxiety spiral, take care of yourself. Do some deep breathing. Down-regulate your emotion regulation center. Do relaxation. Do meditation. Do some journaling. Bring yourself back to a state of calm, and then you can think rationally. Okay, I'll see you next week, where we will see how does Genevieve handle this situation now that she's been on the other side. Does Rodney get a date with anyone? And let's see who the women give their roses to.